Hi guys, this is an absolutely awesome place. So incredibly wild. Today I'm going to revisit trigger mechanisms and traps and stuff, but with the slight focus on the fact that the ground is totally frozen. You can't stick anything in there. And I don't want to do too much whittling and carving and so on. This should be simple. Just a few nuts, maybe a stick or something. And as I'm still recovering from the Meet the Bushcrafters movie, I don't think I will talk that much this time. I find myself, and I have found that in the past, that learning about triggers and traps, the best thing to do is to understand it. You have to have a basic understanding of the physics of them. Almost all traps, they work on the principle that you store some form of kinetic energy, potential energy, which is can be quite large. But then you have to gear that down to a very small force, which enables you to create a hair trigger. And that is usually done with some sort of lever, the leverage. And there are many ways of doing this, but quite often you have like a kind of a toggle stick or whatever not. Instead of really taking you through all the steps of making them, and that doesn't work. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a few of these solutions which are really simple, just a bunch of rope, a little knife, maybe a stick, and you can figure them out at home and try them out and start to understand them, and then you will be able to create your own solutions to the problem. I have found that is the best way to learn it. It's how I learned to make traps. But I'm in no hurry today. Man, this is great. And the weather, awesome. So this is a very crude trap. This is not a trap in the sense that it is placed for a certain animal, that it is a snare for a certain animal or whatever. This is just to demonstrate the actual trigger mechanism. It uses a little pole which stores the kinetic energy. Here you have the rope. This is an alpine butterfly loop. There is a lap knot. This is a separate piece of string. The lap knot is the trigger. This is not really sensitive, so this kind of stuff can be used with slightly larger prey, or for tripwires or whatever. But because that knot won't release very easy, but it is pretty easy if you do it right. I'll try to demonstrate this trap. You see, he got it. Nothing spectacular, but can certainly be used in an emergency. So, here we have quite another nifty method. You see, that is the spring pole, and there is a rope. And this here is the trigger. You see that there is a toggle stick, and the loop that is on the pole has to be the first one on the stick. Then you see the bait line keeps that stick in place. and that it's anchored to a little bush there. Now we have to imagine that the glove there is some bait and that is some snare or whatever. Like I said, this is just to demonstrate stuff. There's nothing to do with setting a trap for a specific animal. It's just to demonstrate the trigger. Experiment with that one, that is a really fun one. So this is a variation of the same theme, only this time the trigger is quite a bit more sensitive. It consists of 2 sticks. Nothing to whittle, just take 2 sticks. And you see this one, that's the toggle. And now this loop from the pole is on top, and this stick is balancing it. And it's also where the bait is attached to. So when this goes, the whole thing goes. Let's see if this works. Well, yeah. Alright guys, the last example for today. Again, a nice pole. And you see here, I tied a little rope between these trees, and that pivots the toggle. And you see there's a little stick blocking the toggle. And on that little stick I have a little rope, and that is, yeah, representing a bait line or whatever. So if this little stick goes, the whole trap goes. Again, nothing to whittle, just 2 sticks and a bit of rope and a few knots. The noose is there, but I'm going to film it from the other side to see how it goes. So this was my bait line. And this is like a snare. And you see this is really sensitive as well. It only needs a little bit and he has it. Right guys, I hope you liked me playing in the woods. It's always nice to experiment a bit like that, and yeah, this whole thing about triggers for traps, it's the bushcraft engineering, and I really like bushcraft engineering, and it's how to apply simple physics with even simpler methods. And like I said, it doesn't really pay off to sit and study exactly the various traps. It's way nicer to somehow start understanding how it works, because then you can apply the mechanism to many different situations. The only thing I used today was this bit of cordage, and my knife, and the knife was only to cut off 2 little sticks. I mean, that was the whole idea today, because in the previous film about trigger mechanisms, they were a bit more sophisticated, and I had to put stakes in the ground, and I had to whittle all kinds of toggles, and it's not needed. I mean, and now it's not really an option, because you can't get anything right into the ground. It's totally frozen. And you saw me, I used some tree, and I used a toggle release between 2 small birch trees. All these things are great to play with, basically. I want to stress though that you shouldn't really set these traps. They are primitive traps only for survival purposes. In most countries it will be completely illegal, same as in Sweden. You cannot do that. It's just the knowledge and the mechanisms that is interesting to know. So guys, only for survival, please. I used a couple of knots today, and the knot that was mostly used, and is pretty important for these mechanisms, is the alpine butterfly loop. And I think I will show you how to make that one. You can look all these knots on the internet, you can look them up, but it's pretty nice to give a quick view of that. And I will use this nice green one, and I hope I can show you. The alpine butterfly loop is very nice to put some little loop in the middle of a line. So if you want your loop here, you put the line around your hand once, twice, and the 3rd time you come up between in the middle, like that. Then you take this and you put that under the other 2. Now at this point it would be nice if you have like a 3rd arm to tighten this, but you will see this is how it looks when you tighten this. This loop is also really nice to use with a trucker's hitch instead of the normal loop that you use there, because that loop is, although it is quick release, it can damage your rope quite a lot, and this loop can take force in any direction without slipping or loosening. And the great advantage is it doesn't matter how much force you had on this loop, you can always easily untie it by pushing these 2 things together to the side, and then you can always easily undo the nut. So that is a nut with quite a lot of applications, but I use this one in almost all the loops in the traps that I did today. Another one that I shall simply demonstrate. The first one I did, there was a trigger, and the trigger was with the rope itself, and that's called the lap knot. And just assume now for a moment that this is the end, that this is a loop, and that this bit here is a completely different rope. And the sheet bend is in and over, but with the lap knot, you just go over it and through the loop. So normally that would look like this is a lap knot. I hope you see this. Now the whole trick is that this was the bait line, or the trigger. Yeah, the bait line. So when you put this in, like say, now with this thick rope it's a bit hard, but say here, you'll see there is not a lot needed to pull it out. But it is still quite hard. Like I said, it can be used for maybe some prey that really tugs on it. But if you put it like with smaller ropes, like just under it, like this, pulling it is not a lot of force needed. There's not a lot of force needed to pull it out. So that was that specific one. Well, the other nuts that I used were the constriction knot. Some would use I think it's called a snuggle hitch, but I like the constrictor nut a lot more. Actually used one clove hitch. It's really nice if you learn those knots, because you will constantly use them. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're gathering your firewood and you want to make this bundle keep together. Knowing a few knots is pretty nice when you're outside in nature, and especially if you're doing shelter building, or in this case trap and trigger mechanisms using ropes and whatever not. Yeah, so I think I will be heading off home. I've been out here now for quite a while and it's been a great day. This is a fantastic place, like I said, it's so wild. It's about 1 hour to the road. Well, my car is parked. I just drove a bit from my home and wandered in this area. This is one big swamp area, and there is a river going behind there. And yeah, in the summer you don't often get here. It's so hard to come and hard to walk in all this wet stuff. But now it's great, and that's great. There were a few scooter trails that I could use to get in, and then I walked out here in the deeper snow. So guys, hope you enjoyed it. See you all in the next one, guys.